Welcome to JGTCR, I'm Cope, and today we will be looking at and base tuning all of the new engine swap vehicles from update 1.55 on GT7. Let's get into it. The latest update on Gran Turismo 7 gives us 9 new engine swaps. In this video we will be looking at each vehicle and provide commentary on the swaps, a quick base tune, and driving action from Grand Valley. Each of the vehicles in this video are completely modified with all the top tier upgrades including aero and wide body. These tunes are provided to make the cars drivable, as many of the swap vehicles become undrivable post-swap. These are not the best tunes in the world, no, these are just a tribute. More in-depth tunes will become available as part of the tuner series, also available on this channel in the near future. Now I don't have time for dilly-dally or jibber-jabber, so I'm gonna hit you hard and I'm gonna hit you fast. So make sure you have the pause button ready to screenshot those tunes and try and keep up. Let's tackle our first tune. The Alpine A110 is very sloppy without a tune. The front end of this car wobbled around quite a lot, and with the additional power of the engine swap, this vehicle couldn't decide if it wanted to oversteer or understeer, and in many cases it decided to do both. It took some slightly more aggressive tuning to get this one wrangled to the ground. The extra weight over the front wheels helped a lot, so no more floating front end. The tune worked out well in the end. It still has some minor understeer issues, but they are manageable. This certainly is an interesting swap and can be fun once we get used to the drive feel. Once we get used to how the car drives, we can really attack corners, and that's when time starts peeling away. Next up, it's the Citroën DS. The Citroën DS with the engine swap ends up feeling like we're driving a fish. The front end wriggles around while the tail feels like it thrashes back and forth. It doesn't, it just feels like it. There is quite a lot of power running to the front wheels. And while there is a considerable amount of wheel spin, there is not too much torque steer, so it is a fairly forgiving drive. This is a surprisingly good front engine front wheel drive swap. Moving on to the Honda Civic. The Honda Civic with the engine swap feels just like it should. It has plenty of poke for such a small vehicle and is bound to keep a smile on your face the entire time you are thrashing your way around any given track. This Civic verges on the edge of wheel spin for the most part, and it's up to us to keep it in check. It has a good balance of drivability and fun. This is a great swap and turns this car into a very tidy package. Next in line is the VIII. The VIII was a nightmare before tuning. The front end would lift and start bouncing at random, and after the suspension was firmed up to stop the bouncing, we found the body height was far too low at default settings. We had to jack this Evo up like a Paris-Dakar rally car just to stop the wheels fouling the body and the body bottoming out. With the body raised so high, it does impact the way the vehicle feels when driving, but for now it works well enough. It does feel understeery, especially when flat footing out of corner exits, so caution is advised. This could be a good engine swap if the chassis didn't need a lift kit just to drive on tarmac roads. So in the end it ends up being more meh than anything else. Moving on to the Porsche Carrera Speedster. This Porsche Carrera Speedster is the most messy swap in update 1.55. Without a tune, many will find this vehicle undrivable when they first do the swap. The front end lifts, the tail end is very snappy tom indeed, and it's bound to throw many for a spin when they first take over control from the AI at the start of a race. The tune has been set up so this Porsche is now more prone to understeer than oversteer. This makes the drive far more forgiving and manageable. This Carrera Speedster will definitely have to be wrestled with to make it bend to our will. This is not a great swap, but it could be said that it's an okay swap. And now the Porsche 911 GT3 RS. An engine swap has never felt more at home than in this vehicle. It seems this swap is more of a setting things right than anything else. The moment the engine drops into this Porsche, it becomes harder, better, faster, stronger. And we really need to do nothing at all to make this 911 burn up the track. The only thing changed in this tune was to crank up the initial torque setting all the way to 60 on the differential. And that's purely because I like my tail end to be a bit more spicy meatball. There really is nothing that needs to be done to the tune to make this Porsche drive really well. A downside to this chassis is that there is no downforce adjustments whatsoever, but there's not a lot we can do about that. Overall, this is a great swap and one of the best of update 1.55. Here comes the R5 Turbo tune. The R5 Turbo with the engine swap was a bit sloppy without a tune. It had a tendency to oversteer in one direction and then snap oversteer in the opposite direction. With all of the weight being in the tail end, these snaps were incredibly aggressive. This made any kind of drift whatsoever highly likely to end in absolute disaster. As such, our main focus was to get the R5 to slide without ending up in the kitty litter, as well as making it a manageable drive. The additional weight we added over the front wheels is not necessary, but it does make for a better drive feel. Without the extra weight, the nose floats a bit more, but it is manageable. With or without the extra weight up front, the R5 Turbo can be a handful, but it is fun. However, it could be that some find it annoying. Overall, it drives reasonably well, and it's not a bad swap at all. Tune time for the R8 Gordini. The R8 Gordini does remarkably well with the conversion given the limited options in the suspension setup. The settings when maxed out completely high or low seem to just fall short of being as effective as they need to be. As such, there is still plenty of suspension movement and body roll that prevents us from getting our solid suspension that we want and require. The end result is that the Gordini is still a touch slide happy and can get a bit Mr. Whippy when the wheel spin kicks in. But if we drive sensibly and use a touch of caution, it all becomes manageable, albeit a touch on the sloppy side. This engine swap is not the fastest, but it certainly is good fun, and could easily be regarded as a decent swap. Rounding off the last of the 9 swaps is the WRX. We have saved the best for last. The Subaru Impreza Sedan WRX STi is absolutely unbetrillable with the engine swap. Yes, that's correct. It is unbelievable a trillion times. This engine, chassis and driveline are a match made in heaven. This Subaru drives as smooth as butter and is easy to control. It seamlessly switches from drive to drift mode based on how we drive it. If we want to grip run and lay down some good lap times, we just need to be smooth and steady on our inputs. But should we want to slide through turns like we are in some Hollywood movie, we only need to be aggressive. Be aggressive. And this WRX does the rest. In my humble opinion, the Subaru Impreza is the best swap of the bunch in update 1.55 of Gran Turismo 7. This is of course highly subjective, so feel free to let me know which was your favorite swap from update 1.55. And there you have it, all 9 engine swaps from the latest update on Gran Turismo 7. Each of them with a quick 2-lap tune to get them handling decently for your driving pleasure. These swaps are a nice mixed bag, seemingly with something for everyone. I am most definitely looking forward to dialing in most of these vehicles for my tuner series on the Nürburgring, and getting many of them to drift at Suzuka. Each engine swap vehicle provides a new challenge and a great way to sharpen and hone our tuning skills. And that's all we have for you today, so until next time, keep racing!